Somewhere on the floor of a tropical rainforest in Thailand, an ant is climbing a plant stem it has no reason to climb. It left the trail. It left the other ants. It is moving with a strange mechanical precision toward a specific height above the forest floor. Not too high, not too low. And when it reaches that height, it bites into the stem. The bite is so strong the ant cannot release it, even after death. And then the ant dies, and something else begins. The ant did not choose to do any of this. Something inside it did. Ophicordyceps unilateralis is a fungus. It infects Camponatini carpenter ants in tropical forests across Southeast Asia, South America, and parts of Africa. The infection begins when a fungal spore lands on an ant walking through the forest floor. The spore germinates and penetrates the ant's exoskeleton. What happens next took scientists decades to understand and is still not fully understood now. The fungus grows inside the ant, but it does not grow into the brain. Early research assumed the fungus controlled the ant by invading the central nervous system, which seemed logical. Parasites that manipulate host behavior often target neural tissue, but when researchers examined infected ants under high-resolution imaging, the fungal cells were found throughout the body, in the muscles, in the connective tissue, in the spaces between organs, but largely absent from the brain itself. The brain appeared structurally intact. This made the question more difficult. If the fungus was not in the brain, how was it controlling the ant? The answer involves something more unsettling than direct neural invasion. The fungal cells form a network throughout the ant's body, a secondary network operating alongside the ant's own systems. They infiltrate the muscle fibers. They produce compounds that interfere with the ant's neuromuscular junctions, the points where nerve signals translate into muscle movement. The fungus does not tell the brain what to do. It bypasses the brain. It talks directly to the muscles. The ant's brain, in a meaningful sense, may still be the ant's, but its body is no longer under the ant's control. The behavior that follows is precise and reproducible. Infected ants leave their colony. They descend from the canopy or wherever they were foraging and move toward the forest floor. They seek out vegetation at a very specific height, typically between 25 centimeters and 28 centimeters above the forest floor, and specifically on the north side of plants. The temperature and humidity at this height are optimal for fungal growth. The ant is not choosing this location. The fungus has calibrated the ant's movement toward the conditions the fungus needs to reproduce. When the ant reaches the correct location, it bites into a leaf vein or stem with a force and position that is consistent across thousands of documented cases. The mandibles lock. The muscles controlling them go into a permanent contraction that holds even after the ant dies. The ant cannot release the bite. This is the death grip. And within hours of the bite, the ant dies. What happens in the ant's final hours before the death grip is still debated. Some researchers have found evidence of muscle degeneration, the fungal compounds actively destroying muscle tissue, perhaps as a way of ensuring the grip cannot be relaxed. Others have noted atrophied muscle fibers around the mandibles specifically, as if the fungus is preparing the clamp before the final moment. After death, the fungal stalk grows from the ant's head. It takes approximately a week to emerge. The stalk extends upward from between the ant's head and thorax and produces a spore-releasing capsule at its tip. The spores rain down onto the forest floor below, landing on other ants walking on the same path. The cycle begins again. The location the fungus selects for this, the specific height, the specific orientation, the specific microclimate, matters enormously. If the stalk emerges in the wrong conditions, the spores fail to develop properly or disperse in the wrong direction. The ant's final position is the fungus's reproductive strategy. The dead ant is a platform. Here's what makes this genuinely strange. The fungus does not benefit from killing the ant in the nest. If the ant died at home, the colony would remove the body, carry it to a midden, and the spores would disperse in a location with far fewer ants walking through. The fungus needs the ant to die in a specific place, so it moves it there first, then it kills it. The timing, the location, the height, the orientation, all of it is not random. All of it serves the fungus. And the ants know this. Carpenter ants have developed behaviors specifically in response to Ophiocordyceps. They recognize infected nestmates through chemical signals, through behavioral cues, and they remove infected individuals from the colony before the infection reaches its behavioral stage. Ant undertakers carry infected ants away from the nest at higher rates than other dead ants. The colony treats infection as a threat distinct from ordinary death, because it is. An ant that dies normally in the nest is a corpse. An infected ant that dies in the nest is a spore dispersal device. The relationship between this fungus and these ants has been going on for a very long time. Fossilized leaves from 47 million years ago showed the same characteristic death grip bite marks. The same position, the same leaf vein, the same locked mandible damage that appears in modern infected ants. The relationship was already sophisticated 47 million years ago. It has had time to become precise. The fungus also faces its own parasite. A hyperparasitic fungus called Tolipocladium attacks Ophiocordyceps, infecting the spore capsule and preventing spore release. This means there is a parasite that parasitizes the parasite, a second layer of hijacking operating on top of the first. The hyperparasite does not control the ant's behavior. It simply destroys the spore capsule of the zombie maker, preventing the zombie-making cycle from completing. The forest is not organized around any single organism's agenda. What Ophiocordyceps represents in the language of evolutionary biology is an expended phenotype. The concept was developed by Richard Dawkins to describe how genes can express their effects outside the body of the organism that carries them. The beaver's dam is an extended phenotype of the beaver's genes. The fungus's control of the ant's body is an extended phenotype of the fungus's genes. The fungus expressing itself through another organism's muscles, using another organism's legs to walk to the right location, using another organism's mandibles to clamp onto the right leaf, using another organism's death as a reproductive structure. The ant is not the organism in this story. The ant is the structure. There are currently over 200 known species of Ophiocordyceps, each specialized for a specific host or group of hosts. The specificity matters. These fungi are not generalists. Ophiocordyceps unilateralis infects Camponotini ants. A different species infects different ants. A different species infects beetles. A different species infects flies. Each fungus has co-evolved with its specific host, calibrating the manipulation to the specific neuromuscular architecture of that host over millions of years. This level of specificity raises a question that evolutionary biologists find genuinely difficult to answer. How does a fungus learn to control an ant? The fungus has no brain. It has no nervous system. It has no sensory apparatus in any conventional sense. It cannot observe the ant and decide what to do. The control emerged through natural selection. Mutations that produced slightly better manipulation survived and reproduced. Mutations that produced worse manipulation did not. Over millions of generations, this process produced a fungus that can navigate an ant to a specific GPS coordinate on a specific plant surface at a specific microclimate, cause it to bite in a specific way, and time its death for maximum spore dispersal. This is natural selection producing something that looks, from the outside, like intention, like planning, like a strategy. But there is no strategist. There is only the accumulated weight of what worked. The ant on the plant stem is not a zombie in any meaningful metaphorical sense. Zombies in fiction are defined by the absence of the self, something wearing the body that used to contain a person. But the ant was never a self in the way the metaphor implies. The ant is a biological machine operating on chemical signals. The fungus is another biological machine that learned to produce those signals more efficiently than the ant's own colony does. What this story is actually about is control, about what it means to be the agent of your own body's movements. The ant walks where it was going to walk, the fungus redirects it. Is the ant then acting? Is the fungus? Are either of them? The stalk continues growing after the ant's death, indifferent to the question. The spores fall, another ant walks through, the spore lands, the exoskeleton is penetrated, the body is entered. Somewhere else in the forest, a different ant leaves the trail.